Jamaica is the ideal transshipment point for cocaine. The powder comes in from South America by light aircraft or by sea. It then travels to Miami, New York, and on to Britain. This is the Coke Trail. Kingston Airport. It's estimated that 1 in every 4 flights leaving here has cocaine on board. Jamaican officials are suspected by foreign law enforcers of getting their cut from the most lucrative trade in the country. But behind them are some of the political figures, according to US undercover agents.
All they have to do is call up the airports and the ship ports and say, hey, you know, my guy's sending in a shipment of cocaine or a shipment of weed to the United States or the UK or Canada, and that, you know, they'll be blind, deaf and dumb, the guys at the airport and the port authorities.
What do the politicians get out of this then?
They get money, and lots of it too. It goes on until they're out of power. Because this money here, they have to make the money when they're in power. That's when they're out of power, they have enough money in the Swiss bank or Grand Cayman to live a happy lifestyle after they retire from politics.
Tony Brown retired from a political career of sorts. He can now afford to relax with his wife at a fashionable beach near Kingston. He was once a top killer for the PNP. Now he's a Yardie drug dealer. When he murdered a policeman just before the 1980 election, he had to go on the run. He fled abroad, like other political gunmen. He was based in New York, but when his crack dealing came under investigation, he used the Yardie network to slip into Britain.
The best shot at the time was to go to London. I spoke to a friend. Then that friend put me on to a friend. So that friend took care of getting me somewhere to live. Then he took care, like taking me to meet other friends. So I just did what was really correct. Like they said, don't go here, don't go there. I just tucked in.
The key thing to all this is having false documents, isn't it? How easy is it to get them?
Getting false documents is like buying a ticket for a bus. So long as you have the money up front, that is really what gets you false documents.
Jamaicans call the British passport the Black Book. The trade in crack cocaine couldn't function without it. Some passports come from corrupt officials in Britain. There's no shortage of experts with the skill to provide a convincing new identity for the Yardie gunmen and dealers.
There's scams in Jamaica where I can get your passport, get your picture out, get back my picture in, and it looks just as good. You get a brand new passport somewhere or another, you get it. You want a visa for America, you get it. You know what I'm saying? You want, if your Jamaican passport is messed up, you get a brand new passport, brand new. You know what I'm saying? No trace of an old one. That's it, just dollars.
New York City is the main artery of Yardie drug dealing in the United States. From the mid-1980s, they simply swept the other drugs gangs aside. Many Jamaican exiles have put down roots in Brooklyn, bringing with them the culture of Kingston. It provided the ideal cover for the Yardies to move in. The Jamaican street gangs became known as posses. One of the most successful, with links to the People's National Party, had its nerve centre in this building. A posse from Kingston called the Gully Men killed the owner of the block, and for 7 years they ran it as the headquarters of an operation dealing in marijuana, heroin and crack cocaine. It was a license to print money. At its peak they were pulling in $60,000 a day. And the arrival of the gully men is a textbook example of the way in which the Jamaican gang seize a piece of turf and make it their own. The vast crack factories symbolise the potential of the US market. But the gully men's fortune became the envy of other yardies, and the violence of Kingston was transplanted to a new arena.
A lot of shootings occurred right here on this corner. There were numerous drive-by shootings. Eventually, the most ruthless of that family driving by was eventually killed, and one of the alleged shooters of that individual and the murderers was Desmond Brown.
Desmond Brown, protected by his Yardie network, is now on the run. We tracked him down at a safe house. He's wanted for murder and faces a life sentence. The man he killed was a Yardie rival from Kingston.
Them come from the same area where me did born and grew up to, just as well as them, but them was bigger man, was a kid, that's why them know me. But them had was to leave from the community of Jamaica and in other places to hide until they make it them own self to America. So them have problems with my family.
The Yardies never lose their links with Kingston. As they fought for control of the Brooklyn crack market, they turned to their old street corners for recruits.
They would not really trust any of the local Americans here to work. What they would do is recruit their own people from back in Jamaica, in the Kingston area, the surrounding neighborhoods. They would bring their own people up here to the United States using false passports or green cards for whatever reason to travel. Bring them here, and the new people that would arrive would now become the workers on the street actually selling the drugs.
In Jamaica, you go anywhere so long as you have the money and you want to.
Did you come to New York on your own passport or false document?
See, false documents.
So you've been living on false documents?
Yeah.
Time will be approximately 1 p.m. He is a male black Jamaican, approximately
Agents of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms, the so-called untouchables, are planning a drugs raid.
We'll set up on Park right here, and then Carlos and I will be in the graffiti van here, the informant. He's not going to buy it, but judging by their reaction, I'll give you guys the call.
Their target is a gang of Jamaican Yardies making and selling crack in Brooklyn.
Guys try to run.
That's beautiful. God bless you, Joe.
Howie has seen one of the defendants with a gun on him. Is that right, Howie?
The hospital, should we need it, St. Mary's Hospital.
A report by the Bureau identified 30,000 Yardies in the United States. They don't have an organized structure like the mafia. Their alliances are forged by the street corner politics of Kingston.
The only thing that would stop us from going in, if he says, we don't have anything right now, come back in a half an hour.
Behind me.
The raid is well timed. The agents find one of their targets as expected in this apartment. A second has been arrested at the front of the building.
We got Dennis downstairs. Yeah. I'm sorry I didn't tell you that.
With one apartment secured, it's learned there are suspects in another.
Need the bunker in a rim. Take the shit, Joe. Bunker in a rim. Higher, Frankie, higher. Police! 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 Go, go, go! Police! All right, go, follow me. Go. Police! Police! Police!
The arrested man has been cooking crack for the afternoon trade.
All right, we have stuff. We have product.
The captive, still in his teens, is an illegal immigrant. Constant seizures of crack have been a blow to yardie operations in the United States. In the US, arrest for crack dealing means an automatic jail term. If just 5 grams is found, it's a mandatory sentence of 5 years. The ringleader who was arrested outside is another yardie from Kingston, who entered the States on false documents. For the authorities, keeping track of such mobile criminals who can change their identities at will presents a unique challenge.
They're every law enforcement officer's nightmare. They're people with tremendous amounts of disposable cash. They have a network internationally, and they're people without any backgrounds. They're people without paper trails.
These guns were found in the bedroom. This is a Beretta 380 caliber.
In the States, and increasingly in Britain, the yardies favor the most powerful weaponry.
It's also semi-automatic. The guns and drugs go together. The guns are used to protect the drug business, and you know, we pretty much expect to find them when we go in. This was found on the table in the living room. Looks as though he was breaking off the crack into smaller pieces and putting them into vials like this.
The success of this raid depended on informants. Infiltration of the gangs has put hundreds of yardies in jail in America in the last few years.
It is very difficult for drug sellings in the state now. It's broken, completely broken right now. The best shot right now is Europe.
Why Europe?
It's the only undeveloped market that really exists outside there now. One of the only undeveloped markets. It is newly opening, and everybody wants a piece of the cake.
In Britain, the yardies have already been active. A police operation in South London identified a number of Jamaican gangsters who'd entered the country on false passports. The murder of Police Constable Patrick Dunn in Clapham last October is the strongest possible evidence that the lure of crack dealing is attracting the yardies to Britain.
They certainly perceive the money in the UK as a prime target, because the American market and the Canadian market is totally flooded with crack cocaine. We are still a growth industry for them. The amount of money they make per deal is vastly greater here than what it is in the United States and Canada.